In the dim glow of dusk, a rabbit hopped down a winding country road, its soft fur ruffled by the cool breeze. Each gentle thump of its paws against the asphalt whispered secrets of the land around it. But on this day, the air felt heavier, charged with an unsettling energy as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Suddenly, within the hazy twilight, the rabbit stopped, its ears perked up, antennae tuned to an unfamiliar sound. There, crumpled on the edge of the road, was a small figure, a boy no older than 8. His face was streaked with dirt and tears, and his sobs resonated through the stillness, echoing like cries for help. The rabbit, a creature known for its instinctual nature, felt an irresistible pull. It approached cautiously, every hop cautious, every twitch of its nose capturing the boy's grief. The rabbit's heart raced. It didn't understand the enormity of what it was seeing, but in that moment something deep within its furry chest stirred, a profound urge to comfort. The boy, glancing up, met the wide, innocent eyes of the rabbit. For a heartbeat, their worlds collided, two souls drawn together by pain and confusion. He blinked, the tears pooling in his eyes momentarily forgot, transformed into pools of wonder. The boy asked, his voice trembling but laced with curiosity. The rabbit tilted its head, seemingly listening, absorbing the weight of the boy's words. In that fleeting moment, understanding sparked between them, an unspoken connection, a bridge spanning their very different worlds. The boy had been abandoned, left behind by the very people he loved. His small hands clutched a tattered toy, now dirtied and worn, a stark reminder of happier times. Where had they gone? Why did they leave him there, alone and vulnerable? A wave of anger mixed with fear enveloped him, thoughts swirling as he choked on his sobs. In the depths of confusion, he found solace in the rabbit's unwavering presence. Strangely, it felt as though they shared a bond, one rooted in the desire for comfort amid chaos. The rabbit, with its soft fur, symbolized warmth, while the boy's tears held the weight of isolation and longing. They were worlds apart, yet completely entwined in this thin fabric of existence. As night began to drape its cloak over the landscape, shadows stretched long from the trees lining the road. The soothing sound of crickets began to fill the air, a stark contrast to the boy's muffled cries. Time seemed to weave around them, creating a pocket of stillness where chaos could not intrude. The rabbit, sensing the gravity of the moment, nudged the boy's hand gently. "Hey," the boy whispered, lifting his hand as if beckoning the rabbit closer. It hopped forward, a soft trail of hope in its wake. Slowly, the boy reached out and touched the rabbit's silky fur. The warmth resonated through him, easing the ache carved deep into his chest. It was an intimate moment, one where a bond formed not of words but of shared silence. What would happen next? Would anyone come looking for this boy? The rabbit could sense his unease, as though the very essence of the night's mystery seeped into its being. It stayed close, almost as if it had sworn an oath to stand guard. A flicker of determination sparked in the boy's heart. In that moment, he vowed to fight this loneliness, to find a way back to a place where laughter echoed instead of sorrow. Just as the boy began to wipe his tears, his small frame trembling with vulnerability, headlights pierced through the darkness, illuminating the road ahead. The boy's breath hitched in his throat, fear slithering back in. A car, would it be his parents returning? Slowly, he turned his head, eyes wide with anticipation and dread. The vehicle approached, slowing down just as it drew nearer to the boy and the small creature at his feet. A man peeked through the window, his brow furrowing in disbelief at the sight before him. A boy alone on the roadside, a fragile flicker of hope guarded by an unexpected guardian. The car came to a halt and the man stepped out, his heart racing with concern. "Hey there, buddy." His rugged voice broke the spell of silence, drawing the boy's attention completely. The rabbit's instincts kicked in, sensing the shift in energy. It stood tall beside the boy, ready to protect its newfound friend. I'm okay," the boy managed to say, but deep within, fear churned like a storm. The man knelt, softening his posture. "It's all right." There was a gentleness in the way he spoke, a quiet promise that sent a ripple of comfort through the boy. The rabbit, seeing the boy's attention shift, took a tentative step back, knowing this moment wasn't just about them anymore. A guardian had arrived, and with him, a sense of security. As the man continued to speak, a sense of warmth filled the air. The boy was cautiously reminded that even in the depths of sorrow, hope could spark. The kindness in the man's voice glowed like the distant stars above, illuminating shadows that had loomed large in the boy's heart. That simple truth that not all humans were to be feared began to settle in like a reassuring blanket wrapped around him. Minutes turned into a comforting embrace of compassion, and as the boy shared his story, unveiling threads of his abandonment, the rabbit stood vigilant, a silent witness to this unfolding bond. It didn't understand the human world, but it knew this moment was crucial, not just for the boy, but for the spirit of connection that thrummed between them. "I'll help you find your family," the man promised, determination weaving into his voice. And if they don't come back, the boy's heart fluttered, hope igniting within. The unknown lay ahead, but as he looked at the brave little rabbit, he realized he wasn't alone anymore. Each pulse of this newfound friendship formed a shield around him, protecting him from the harsh winds of despair. As they walked toward the car, the rabbit followed, its tiny paws patting softly on the asphalt. didn't comprehend the complexities of human life, but it felt a profound sense of purpose. It knew this was more than just an encounter, it was an intersection of destinies. Even the small boy's heart, clouded by uncertainty, swelled with gratitude. The rabbit had shown him that even in moments of great sorrow, kindness could illuminate the darkest paths. The headlights illuminated the night as they climbed into the man's vehicle. The rabbit curled close to the boy's feet, an unbreakable bond now formed. As the car pulled away from the roadside, leaving behind the darkness, the boy felt the safety of hope cradle him like the warmest embrace. The world was vast and filled with unknowns, but here, in this fragile cocoon, he found strength in unexpected friendships. The boy's laughter began to dance through the vehicle, like music cascading against the backdrop of dusk. The rabbit could feel it too. The boy was reclaiming his spirit, unearthing light amidst shadows. The journey ahead would not be simple. Obstacles lay in wait, but together they stood stronger. In the rearview mirror, the boy turned to look at the country road one last time, a silent thanks to the place where everything changed. The rabbit shifted, resting against the boy's foot, both a guardian and a companion as they began a journey of healing and rediscovery. What happened next shocked everyone who would come to hear this story, a tale of kindness and connection that rippled through their community. The boy, once lost and forlorn, transformed into a beacon of hope, inspiring others to see beyond themselves. The rabbit, still a quiet hero in its own right, had become a symbol of resilience for a new chapter. And so this duo of unlikely friends ventured into the world knowing that together they could face whatever storm might come their way. The sun sank low, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple when the little rabbit first spotted him. A figure hunched on the roadside, small and alone, crumpled beneath the weight of the world. The rabbit froze, its soft nose quivering in the stillness, and listened closely to the sound slicing through the evening. Boy, sobbing, his cries sharp and desperate. With tentative hops, the rabbit edged closer, its heart pounding like a drum. This was no ordinary night on the country road. The boy's tears glistened, their shine bright even as shadows stretched long around him. He buried his face in his dirt-streaked hands, each sob echoing a profound sadness that seemed to vibrate through the very earth. The rabbit could feel an unseen gravity pulling it closer. What could possibly leave a child so lost? It paused just a few feet away, tilting its head as it observed. The boy, barely 8, was thin and ragged, dressed in a tattered shirt and shorts 2 sizes too big. Fragile and neglected, he seemed like a ghost waiting for someone to acknowledge his existence. "Hey," the boy finally whispered, venturing a glance at the rabbit. His wide eyes held a flicker of surprise. "Are you?" The rabbit blinked, sensing a fragile thread connecting them in this desolate moment. They were 2 worlds colliding, 2 beings sharing a space heavy with unspent emotions. The boy, lost and orphaned in his grief, and the rabbit, a humble creature caught in the swirling chaos of humanity. There was something powerful in their silence, a pact made in an unspoken understanding. Little by little, the rabbit approached, its soft paws making no sound against the asphalt. It stopped right in front of the boy, whose breath hitched as the creature came to say hello. In that tender moment, the boy reached out a trembling hand, fingers brushing against the rabbit's silky fur. For just a moment, they were cocooned in each other's warmth. The boy whispered, his voice flickering with a mixture of hope and despair. The rabbit didn't have the answers, but its presence said it all. "I'm lost," the boy confessed, tears welling anew. The rabbit's heart ached as it sensed the depth of the boy's sorrow. This wasn't just a fleeting encounter, this was a pivotal moment in both of their lives. Abandoned at the edge of everything he understood, the boy was just a child yearning for love, understanding, and a connection that had slipped away. The rabbit nestled closer, determined to provide a flicker of warmth in a cold, dark night. Suddenly, headlights broke through the gloom, cutting across the road like a beacon of hope. The boy looked up, his heart pounding, a mixture of fear and hope flooding his senses. Could this be someone coming to find him? As the vehicle slowed to a stop, the boy's heart raced uncontrollably. A lone figure stepped out, a man in a well-worn jacket, and a look of disbelief etched across his face. He approached cautiously, his eyes wide as he took in the sight of the boy and the little rabbit standing steadfast beside him. The boy stiffened, scanning the man's face for danger. Tears clung to his cheeks like dewdrops. "I was left here," he stammered, vulnerability spilling out like the stories of countless children who had faced the same abandonment. The man knelt down, his expression gentle, eyes softening with empathy. "I won't hurt you, I promise." The boy felt a hint of warmth seep into his heart at the sincerity in the man's voice. The rabbit, sensing the shift, stood tall and alert, its small frame radiating quiet strength as it guarded the boy, signaling reassurance. The man asked. The boy's small shoulders slumped under the weight of the question as the truth hung heavy in the air. "No, they just..." A rush of emotion surged through the boy. The feeling of abandonment, like a dark cloud looming overhead, had settled into indelible loneliness. But as the man listened, really listened, it was as if the boy finally exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "They said they'd be back, but I waited." "Sometimes life takes people away, even if we don't understand why," the man responded softly, careful not to overwhelm the boy's fragile spirit. The rabbit remained close, a silent sentinel in this new unfolding drama, attuned to the heartbeats of its companions. In that fragile moment, a connection blossomed. Maybe the boy wasn't truly alone after all. He dared to believe that perhaps this man could help him find a way back to safety, a way out of despair. With trembling fingers, he brushed the rabbit's fur one more time, drawing comfort from the warmth and understanding in its small, bright presence. The man asked, extending a hand that felt stronger and warmer than the chill in the evening air. The boy looked from the man to the rabbit, the small creature offering an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, the boy grasped the man's hand, the weight of uncertainty still looming, but the spark of hope ignited by their connection made it feel lighter. Together, they walked toward the car, the rabbit trotting along beside them, a steadfast companion on this unpredictable journey. As they climbed into the vehicle, the interior light cast a warm glow on the boy's face. The man turned to him, eyes focused and filled with determination. "We're going to figure this out." The boy's heart lifted slightly, words of encouragement flowed over him like a warm blanket, yet doubt still nagged at the edges of his mind. What if his family didn't want him back? What if they'd really abandoned him for good? As he stared out the window, the landscape shifted into blurs of darkness and vague memories filled with laughter and love-fading images that seemed to haunt him. The rabbit, sensing the boy's turmoil, nudged against his foot, a gentle reminder that not all was lost. In a world so chaotic, a bond had formed, unbreakable and powerful. As they drove farther down that long, winding road, the boy realized he was not merely a lost soul anymore. He was seen, noticed, and cared for. Minutes turned into hours, the landscape rolling past them like a montage of possibility. The man spoke gently, asking the boy questions, drawing him out like a skilled artist bringing a canvas to life. Slowly, as they shared fragments of their stories, the boy began to feel a flicker of hope. The ghost of a smile teased the corners of his lips. But then, just as quickly, the weight of reality settled back on him. He murmured, his voice almost lost in the hum of the engine. The man paused. "Sometimes people get lost in their own lives. That doesn't mean they don't care." Those words hung in the air, resonating within the boy's heart. Perhaps the man was right. Perhaps there was more to the story than he had been made to believe. As dawn broke, casting a pale light over the world, they ventured into a town that felt foreign yet strangely inviting. The rabbit, energized and curious, poked its nose out of the car window, its tiny heartbeat matching the rhythm of hope blossoming in the boy's chest. It wasn't long before they arrived at a local shelter, a place buzzing with people and possibility. The moment they entered, the warmth washed over them like a wave, a refuge filled with laughter and a sense of belonging. "You'll be safe here," the man assured the boy, kneeling alongside him to provide reassurance. The rabbit, now on a mission of its own, began exploring the shelter, weaving through the legs of busy volunteers and curious children, each encounter sparking delight. It knew instinctively that this place held the potential for new beginnings. Moments later, a woman with warm eyes and an inviting smile approached them. Her name was Clara, and as she knelt beside the boy, he felt an uncanny sense of comfort radiating from her. "We're here to help you, sweetheart." Tears brimmed in his eyes, and suddenly he felt the rush of emotions swirl, breaking the dam he had built around his heart. "I don't know where my family is," he whispered, vulnerability pouring from him. "Sometimes family is more than blood," Clara murmured, wrapping him in an embrace that enveloped him like the sun breaking through clouds. "Here you'll find love and you'll find support." As days turned into weeks, the boy began to blossom in the warmth of the shelter. He was surrounded by kindness, laughter, and understanding, none of which he thought was ever possible again. The rabbit had found its place too, stealing hearts with its playful spirit and gentle nature. In the evenings, the boy would curl up with the rabbit by his side, sharing stories of days filled with small victories and dreams of a brighter future. He felt safe now, unburdened by the chains of neglect. As time passed, news began to spread about the boy and the rabbit. Their bond became a symbol of hope for all those who walked through the doors of the shelter, proof that love could be found in unexpected places, that connection could heal wounds too raw to see. Then the unimaginable happened. A few months after that fateful day on the road, a familiar face appeared at the shelter's doorstep, a woman, her eyes wide with a mix of relief and regret, looking as though she had aged years in a matter of months. The boy looked up, stunned as he recognized her, the face he had once longed to see, now a bittersweet tapestry woven with the threads of uncertainty. He whispered, his heart racing, caught between the remnants of hurt and flickers of hope. Her voice trembled. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to leave you." As she reached out for him, the rabbit hopped protectively in front of the boy, its spirit tethered to the boy's newfound strength. In that moment, the boy remembered everything he'd learned about resilience, about connection and the power of love. "I've been happy here." Tears streamed down her cheeks, a mixture of sorrow and gratitude. With the rabbit by his side, he felt a strength swell within him. As they stepped away, the rabbit watched, a silent companion on this new journey from abandonment to understanding, from despair to hope. The boy had discovered that life was not just about where you began, but about the connections you make along the way. From that day on, a new chapter unfolded for both the boy and the rabbit. they ventured into the world hand in paw, reminding everyone they met of the power of love, resilience, and the beauty found in unexpected friendships. In a world full of unanswered questions, each heartbeat echoed the truth: once lost, they were now found. In the fading light of dusk, a rabbit scampered along a winding country road, its soft fur shimmering in the golden rays of the setting sun. This wasn't just another night, something felt different, almost electric. The rabbit paused and twitched its ears, straining to hear a sound that sliced through the evening air, soft, heart-wrenching cries. Curiosity piqued, it hopped closer. In a small clearing just off the road lay a boy, no older than 8, hunched over and weeping. Tears streamed down his dirt-smudged cheeks, and despair clung to him like a shadow. The rabbit froze, observing this fragile creature who seemed to be carrying an insurmountable weight. What could have brought a child to this moment, alone and abandoned on a lonely road? The boy's small hands were wrapped tightly around a tattered toy, a once bright stuffed animal, now dulled and frayed at the edges. Each sob rattled through the stillness, echoing a desperate plea for comfort. The rabbit felt a strange pull, an instinct to comfort this crying child. With tentative hops, it bridged the gap between their worlds, inching closer until it was just a few feet away. "Hey," the boy murmured, glancing up through his tear-filled eyes. For a brief second, their worlds collided, the boy's sorrow meeting the rabbit's innocent curiosity. "Are you?" The rabbit blinked, its nose twitching. In that moment, something magical happened. An unspoken connection was formed. The boy's breathing steadied for just a heartbeat as he reached out a timid hand. The rabbit hopped forward, sniffing the boy's fingertips before nuzzling against them, a soft promise of companionship. The boy's heart swelled. Here was something alive and warm, a flicker of hope amidst darkness. "I'm lost," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. What anguish lay behind those words? Abandonment wrapped itself around him like a suffocating blanket, deepening the weight of confusion and fear. How could someone leave a child so small, so precious, all alone on the side of the road? As if sensing the boy's heartache, the rabbit moved closer. Just a simple creature in a vast world, it offered its warmth like a beacon. In this moment, the boy's sobs quieted. He focused on the rabbit. He asked softly, almost expecting the little creature to speak back. Just then, a car's headlights cut through the dusk, illuminating the road ahead. The boy's heart raced. Could this be salvation? As the vehicle drew closer, dread and hope warred within him. The car slowed to a stop, and a man stepped out, his silhouette sharp against the glow of the headlights. The man called, concern etched across his features as he surveyed the scene. His eyes widened in disbelief as he took in the boy sitting forlornly on the roadside, hugging his rabbit tightly. The boy's voice trembled as he explained, I was left here. Each word felt heavy, loaded with the weight of abandonment, the feeling of being forgotten. The man knelt down, creating a warm, inviting space. You're not alone anymore, he said, his voice steady and soothing. The man's sincerity wrapped itself around the boy like a calming embrace. The rabbit quivered with a sense of purpose, sensing that this moment was crucial for its young friend. Feeling the boy's worry seep through the air, the man remained patient, his voice a gentle current pulling the boy toward hope. It's okay to be scared, but I'm here for you. The boy glanced up, uncertainty and skepticism flickering in his eyes. Although he longed to believe, vulnerability gnawed at him. The last time he had trusted, his heart had broken. But the rabbit stayed close, a steadfast guardian, encouraging him to embrace this new possibility. Slowly, the boy hesitated before nodding, instinctively reaching out for the man's hand. With newfound courage, he took a step toward the vehicle, the rabbit scampering beside him in determined solidarity. What lay ahead was unknown, but he no longer felt completely alone. As they climbed into the car, the warmth enveloped them, filling the boy with a sense of security he hadn't known in ages. The man introduced himself, his voice ringing with empathy, My name's Sam. For the first time in what felt like forever, the boy managed a small smile, his heart expanding with cautious optimism. The rabbit perched itself on the boy's lap, a small oasis of comfort amidst the uncertainty swirling around them. As they drove deeper into the twilight, the headlights illuminated the road ahead, casting long shadows in their wake. The boys shared stories, opening up like a flower to the sun, while Sam listened intently. With every tender question, the boy's apprehensions began to dissolve. Each time he spoke, the rabbit twitched its nose and leaned into him, as if reassuring him that this encounter was something special. Hours passed, but time felt suspended. The boy found comfort not only in the man's presence, but also in the little rabbit curling against him, his simple companion, silently promising unconditional support. Sam's kind demeanor created a safe space, allowing the boy to peel away the layers of hurt and fear wrapped around him. Eventually, they arrived at a shelter, a bright and welcoming haven bustling with life. The boy glanced out the window, a flutter of uncertainty fluttering in his chest. Sam placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, an anchor in the tempest of emotions. You're going to love it here, he said, guiding the boy and the rabbit toward the entrance. As they stepped inside, the air buzzed with laughter and chatter. A woman with a radiant smile approached them. I'm Clara, the coordinator, she said, her eyes sparkling with warmth. Clara knelt down to the boy's level, her voice tender and inviting. You're safe with us, sweetheart. The boy's heart fluttered. For the first time, a sense of belonging washed over him, filling the void left by the people who had walked away. But still, a seed of doubt lingered. Was this place really going to keep him safe? With the rabbit nestled close, he gradually began to open up. Days turned into weeks, and as the shelter became his temporary home, he experienced what it felt like to be cared for, something he had almost forgotten. Laughter echoed off the walls, and love wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. In the evenings, the boy found solace sitting on a soft rug, the rabbit by his side as he listened to stories shared by the staff and other children. The rabbit, once a source of sadness, transformed into a symbol of hope and resilience. The bond formed was magnetic, drawing everyone closer and creating a sense of community. The boy grew bolder with each passing day, learning to trust again, to believe that love was possible. Clara organized activities that sparked joy, from arts and crafts to outdoor games. There, amidst the laughter, he began to feel the shadows of his past lifting, replaced by the brighter colors of friendship. But as the new chapter unfolded, the boy learned a transformative lesson about family. One honest afternoon, Clara sat beside him, looking sincerely into his eyes. Family can take many forms. Her words melted into him, lighting a fire of understanding. He looked around at the caring volunteers and other children, each of them a piece of the mosaic that now filled his world. He was no longer a victim of abandonment. He was part of something beautiful, a community built on love, choice, and resilience. But still, the past hovered around him as a constant reminder of where he had been, leaving him with lingering questions. What if his family returned? What would happen then? Was he meant to embrace this new life, even if it meant leaving behind the people he had once loved? Then one day, that very question echoed through the air when news arrived that a woman had come looking for him. His heart raced at the thought. Memories of family flickered in his mind, both sweet and bittersweet. Would this be a welcoming reunion or another heartbreak? As he stood at the threshold of the shelter's entrance, the boy felt the rabbit at his feet, his steadfast companion, unyielding in its support. When the woman entered, he recognized her instantly. It was his mother, her eyes wide with relief and sorrow. "Sweetheart," she breathed, making her way closer to him. The boy felt a whirlwind of confusion crash around him. Did he still want to reach for her? After everything they had been through, after the hurt and abandonment, could he open his heart once more? Tears coursed down her cheeks as she knelt before him. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to feel abandoned," she said, her voice trembling. For a brief moment, hope sparked within him, battling against the fears that had kept him locked away in sorrow. "But you left me," he shot back, his voice wavering. "I know," she replied, her voice heavy with regret, "and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to be here for you now." The boy's heart raced as the rabbit moved closer, sensing the tension in the air. "I've found a new family here," he replied softly, his voice even. The words hung in the air, heavy and poignant. His mother's expression shifted as she absorbed the depth of what he was saying. In that moment, she understood that he had grown, changed in ways she couldn't control. The boy saw it in her eyes, a flicker of understanding that spoke of a new beginning. She nodded, a tear streaking down her face. "I just want to be part of your life again, however you'll allow me to be." Standing in that doorway, the boy felt a surge of power. The rabbit at his feet reminded him of his journey, how far he had come and how much he had grown. Feeling emboldened, he realized he didn't have to choose between two worlds. He could embrace both. With a deep breath, he extended his hand toward his mother. "Let's start fresh, together." With a smile breaking through the sorrow, she grasped his hand tightly, and together they stepped back into the shelter and alliance forged anew. The little rabbit watched from the sidelines, feeling the warmth of love wrap around the new family. It had played a quiet yet powerful role in this transformative journey, reminding everyone present of life's most essential truth. Love can find us anywhere, even in the most unexpected places. And with the dawn of this new chapter, the boy learned that families can come together in extraordinary ways, illuminating even the darkest nights with the soft glow of hope, friendship, and resilience. In this world of uncertainty, love had not just survived, it had thrived. Together, they would face whatever came next, hearts intertwined, moving forward as a united family. On a quiet country road, the evening sun hung low, casting long shadows over the pavement. It was a scene that felt untouched, serene in its stillness, until a soft sound shattered the calm. A small, distressed cry echoed through the air. It was faint at first, but as the rustle of leaves swayed in the gentle breeze, the cries grew louder, filled with heart-wrenching anguish. A rabbit, its small body blending with the grass, froze. Ears perked up, it listened intently. The cries were coming from just ahead. With a quiver of curiosity, the rabbit darted forward, drawn by the sound. It hopped closer, its tiny feet barely making a sound against the dirt road. And there, sitting on the shoulder of the road, was a boy, no older than 8, crumpled and alone. His clothes were dirty, his hair disheveled, and tears streamed down his cheeks like rivers reflecting the fading sunlight. The rabbit felt its heart race as it watched this small figure, the sheer weight of his sorrow palpable in the air. The rabbit seemed to ask with its large, soft eyes. The boy lifted his head slightly, looking around as if searching for someone who might help him. but the rabbit was the only creature nearby, a small symbol of life in a moment that felt overwhelmingly void of hope. "I'm all alone," the boy whispered, his voice trembling. His body shook with quiet sobs, an overwhelming sense of abandonment radiating from him. The rabbit took a cautious step closer, unsure yet compelled to offer comfort. In the warmth of that moment, time stood still. The boy's eyes locked onto the rabbit's, and for a moment, everything else faded away. He asked, almost as if he were hoping for a miracle in the form of this little creature. Noticing the boy's vulnerability, the rabbit edged closer still, its nose twitching as it explored the scent of longing and pain that hung in the air. A flicker of hope ignited in the boy's heart. Maybe this little creature could understand him, could help him feel less alone. He wiped his tears and reached out a small, trembling hand. As soon as his fingers brushed against the rabbit's soft fur, a sense of warmth washed over him. The rabbit nuzzled back, and in that simple, innocent connection, the boy felt a sliver of comfort. This small act of kindness formed an invisible bond, a flicker of light in a life overshadowed by abandonment. He whispered into the cool breeze that surrounded them, a question directed not only at the unknown but at himself, searching for answers he could not articulate. Just then, headlights pierced the shadows, slicing through the dimness as a car approached from the distance. The boy's heart raced, a mix of hope and fear swirling within him. Could this be someone coming to find him? He turned to look, but before he could fully process his emotions, the car slowed, coming to a gradual stop nearby. A man stepped out, his face lined with concern as he surveyed the scene before him. He called, finding the small figure of the boy and the rabbit nestled close together. The warmth of the man's voice cut through the stillness like a gentle caress. He asked, kneeling to the boy's level. The boy's heart pounded wildly, caught in a whirlwind of emotion. He opened his mouth but found himself unable to speak. Fear held him back, the ache of abandonment tightening its grip. The boy's voice quivered, his vulnerability laid bare as he glanced back toward the rabbit, the small creature grounding him in this moment of uncertainty. The man's eyes softened as he knelt down, creating a safe space with his presence. "You're safe now," he reassured gently. With those words, something shifted within the boy. Here was a person who seemed genuinely concerned, who wanted to help. The warmth emanating from the stranger hooked onto the threads of hope that the boy had been holding onto tightly. He cautiously nodded, feeling a mixture of apprehension and relief as he looked at the man. Taking a breath, the man extended his hand. "I'm Tom." As the boy looked up and saw the kindness radiating from Tom, he felt a spark of courage ignite within him. Together, they walked toward the car, the rabbit trailing faithfully behind. As they settled into the vehicle, the boy felt a strange sense of comfort wash over him. The vehicle was warm, and the reassuring hum of the engine seemed to promise safety. The rabbit curled up in his lap, a small guardian in this unfamiliar realm. The boy asked tentatively, his words punctuated by the hum of the engine. "To a place where you'll be safe," Tom replied, glancing over with a smile. The boy allowed himself a small flicker of hope. Could it be true? Could the world still hold goodness after everything he'd endured? He looked at the rabbit, whose soft fur remained a source of comfort. As they drove further down the winding road, the boy opened up, sharing fragmented pieces of his story. Memories rushed forth, the laughter, the warmth, and then the emptiness that had followed. With each word, he laid bare the pain of abandonment and the dismantling of hope, the rabbit somehow sensing the weight of his memories and sharing the vulnerability with him. Tom listened as if each word was precious, nodding as the boy spoke. It was an odd comfort, one that felt like a long-lost connection. The open road ahead symbolized both the uncertainty of future and a path toward healing. Eventually, they arrived at a shelter, bright and welcoming, with laughter spilling from its doors. It was a vibrant haven buzzing with a sense of community. The moment they stepped inside, the boy felt something shift within him, a flicker of warmth he hadn't felt in far too long. Clara, the shelter manager, approached them with a warm smile. "Welcome, I'm Clara." Her voice was a melodic embrace that wrapped around the boy, drawing him into a new world of possibility. As he surveyed the bustling environment, he saw other children laughing, playing, and sharing stories. It was unlike anything he had seen in a long time, but doubt lingered at the edges of his heart. Could this really be a place where he belonged? Would they understand his pain? In that moment, the rabbit nudged against him, its soft presence a gentle reminder that he was not alone. Clara knelt down close. "You're safe here, sweetheart. We're going to take good care of you." The boy felt a warm pulse of trust begin to blossom deep in his chest. Perhaps it was time to embark on a different journey from the one he had known. Clara led him through the shelter, introducing him to staff and encouraging him to engage with the other kids. Days turned into weeks, and life inside the shelter became a whirlwind of laughter and healing. The boy gradually began to embrace his new environment. Each moment brought a new discovery, a mural painted by the children, a playground filled with laughter and cozy corners where stories were shared. The rabbit remained steadfast by his side, a living reminder of the journey they had shared. It meandered through the shelter, endearing itself to everyone, spreading warmth with a gentle hop. Wherever the boy went, the rabbit followed, offering comfort to anyone who might need it. As the boy immersed himself in this new life, he began to realize something profound. Each person around him, each smile, each hug held the power to mend his broken spirit. The staff poured love and care into him, crafting an environment where he slowly learned to trust once more. In the evenings, he would sit cross-legged with the rabbit nestled on his lap, sharing stories with a group of children who had also known their own struggles. They laughed together and offered each other a sense of camaraderie. They were bound by shared experiences, creating a tapestry woven from threads of hope and resilience. In those quiet moments beneath the soft glow of fairy lights strung above, the boy felt as if he were stitching together the fragmented pieces of his heart. Clara often joined them, reminding them of the importance of connection and the beauty of rewriting their stories together. One fateful evening, as they gathered to share dreams and wishes, the conversation deepened. Clara asked, looking at each child in turn. The boy listened as they spoke of dreams traveling, helping others, and building families of their own. When it was his turn, he hesitated, uncertainty gathering within him. The warmth from the rabbit still nestled on his lap gave him courage. "I want a family that stays," he said quietly, his voice wavering as he spoke the words that had long been buried in his heart. A hush fell over the group, the weight of reality settling among them. Clara's eyes sparkled with understanding, reflecting the tenderness of this moment. "That's a beautiful wish," she replied softly. As the days turned into months, the boy began to feel the power of love suffusing him. He cultivated friendships, exploring new interests and embracing the idea that family could come in various forms. From the laughter of the other kids to the care shared by the staff, he found strength in community. But one day, when a new child arrived at the shelter, everything changed. The boy watched as a small girl walked in, hesitating at the threshold, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and uncertainty. The rabbit trotted forward instinctively, nudging its head against her leg, creating an instant bond. In that moment, he realized that his journey wasn't just about healing, forging connections was equally important. The boy stood and approached the girl, awkwardly at first, but with an earnest hope to extend the kindness he had received. "It's okay," he said, offering her a tentative smile. The girl's eyes brightened slightly and she knelt down, petting the rabbit. She asked, her voice soft. The boy shrugged. "He's just Rabbit for now, but he's a good friend." An idea sparked deep within him. They could help each other find their way, just like he had once been helped. And as they shared stories, laughter began to weave through the air, a sweet melody of healing and new beginnings. Their friendship blossomed, and the boy grew even more committed to nurturing connections within the community. Tom would visit occasionally, always smiling warmly, further strengthening the bond of support that extended beyond the shelter's walls. Then one sunny afternoon, Clara gathered everyone in the backyard for a special surprise. She exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. The children cheered, excitement bubbling over. The boy's heart raced with anticipation, a chance to explore the world, guided by those who cared for him. Together, they piled into the transportation, laughter echoing throughout the vehicle as they set off toward an adventure. As they arrived at a nearby park, the boy's heart soared. Lush green grass stretched as far as the eye could see, dotted with picnic tables and play areas. For a moment, it felt surreal, a vivid contrast to the pain he had left behind. They spent the day running, laughing, and basking in the joy of newfound freedom. The rabbit hopped alongside them as they explored, its antics bringing smiles and laughter to everyone's faces. The boy felt the weight of positivity envelop him, kindling a flame of happiness that he had thought was lost forever. Yet beneath the surface, he knew that healing was an ongoing journey. In the midst of the joy, he often thought of his past, the moments of abandonment that still echoed within him. Would he dare to face those memories again? As the sun began to set, the children gathered on a grassy knoll, their hearts still alight with laughter. Clara encouraged them to reflect. The boy hesitated, the warmth of the sun fading with the light. "It felt like freedom," he said slowly, searching for words. Tears brimming in Clara's eyes mirrored the understanding in their hearts. "You've been so brave, and today is a testament to your healing," she said softly. "Remember, it's okay to embrace everything, the joy and the pain." The boy nodded, merging the echoes of his past with the hope blossoming in his present. Each smile, each connection became more profound, a reminder that even in the shadows, light could still find its way in. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant hues, he glanced at the rabbit nestled by his feet, then at the other children around him. In that moment, he recognized the depth of what he had gained, not just friends and security, but a newfound purpose. Love was alive in his heart, a beautiful tapestry woven with threads of caring. Through this journey of healing, he had transformed not just himself, but had become a part of something larger, a community that chose to stand together through life's challenges. As they watched the vibrant colors of the sunset blend into one another, the boy knew this was only the beginning. With each beat of their hearts, together they would navigate the complexities of life, embracing every moment with renewed hope, forever shaped by the journey they had shared. The rabbit nestled closer, a symbol of all the kindness that had enveloped him along the way. Through heartbreaking pain and triumphant healing, the boy had discovered something truly remarkable: the strength to hold on and the capacity to love again. In a world that once felt so lonely, he had found a family, one of heart, resilience, and profound connection. On a quiet, sun-drenched afternoon, a rabbit darted across a patch of wildflowers, its heart racing not with fear but curiosity. Just a few yards ahead, a small figure curled up on the side of the road caught its eye. The rabbit paused instantly, ears twitching as a sound pierced the serene atmosphere. A boy's muffled sobs resonated through the still air. Peering cautiously, the rabbit saw the boy, no older than 8, with tears streaming down his dirt-streaked face. Confusion washed over the little rabbit. How could someone so small be so utterly abandoned? It hopped closer, drawn by the boy's sorrow. The rabbit seemed to ask with its big, innocent eyes. The boy looked up, his chestnut hair tousled and messy, and for a brief moment their worlds collided. He blinked, surprised to see a living creature so close. "Are you?" he whispered. The rabbit leaned in, somewhat relieved to find that he felt a flicker of hope. "I'm all alone," the boy said, his voice trembling with emotion. "They said they would come back for me." Those words sliced through the air like a knife, stabbing deep into the rabbit's heart. The weight of the boy's sorrow was almost tangible, and despite its small size, the rabbit felt an overwhelming urge to help. It inched closer, nose twitching as it offered a gentle, comforting nuzzle against the boy's outstretched hand. The boy's gaze softened. Instead of pushing the little creature away, he found solace in its warm presence. "You're my friend now," he said, a small smile breaking through his sorrow. In that heartbeat, the rabbit became more than just a spectator. It turned into a lifeline, a flicker of connection in an otherwise bleak landscape. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the clouds with shades of orange and pink, a car's headlights suddenly glinted off the asphalt, cutting through the twilight. The boy's heart raced with a mix of hope and fear. Could this be someone coming to find him? He looked up, wiping his tear-streaked cheeks, and held his breath, the weight of uncertainty pinching at his heart. The car slowed down and stopped a few feet from the boy. A man stepped out, his brow furrowed with concern as he took in the sight of the abandoned child and the rabbit who had unexpectedly taken up residence beside him. He called out, walking cautiously toward the boy. The boy's breath hitched. "I don't know, I was left here," he stammered, his voice a fragile whisper. The man knelt down, looking directly into the boy's eyes. "My name's Jack. We're going to make sure you're okay." With trembling hands, the boy recounted how his family had left him at a park, promising they would be back soon. Hours turned into days, and when they didn't return, the boy had made his way to this quiet road alone, confused and terrified. Jack listened intently, his heart aching as he absorbed the boy's story, realizing the depth of his pain. Every cry reflected a fear far too heavy for someone so young. "You're not alone anymore," he promised gently. The boy hesitated, but felt a flicker of trust ignite in the pit of his stomach, warmed by the compassion radiating from Jack. Tentatively, he reached out a hand to take Jack's, a simple act that felt monumental. The rabbit hopped along beside them, a steadfast guardian in this new adventure. As they settled into the car, the boy felt a strange but comforting sense of safety wash over him. Jack's voice was steady, assuring, as he explained that they were going to a local shelter where caring people would help him. The rabbit curled up in the boy's lap, becoming a warm bundle of fuzz that grounded him in the moment. The boy whispered, his voice small as he gazed out the window, watching the world blur past. "More than okay," Jack replied. But even as the words rolled off Jack's tongue, the boy felt the weight of doubt hang in the air. What if this was just another empty promise? The comfort of the rabbit against his legs reminded him of the weight of abandonment, a sensation he desperately tried to shake off. When they arrived at the shelter, the boy felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Bright flowers bloomed in the front garden, promising warmth and safety, but the worry tugged at him like a relentless shadow. Jack guided him through the door, and the boy was enveloped in a different kind of warmth. Clara, the shelter director, greeted them with a heartwarming smile that radiated kindness. "Welcome, we're so glad you're here," she said, observing the boy's wary expression. Her sincerity made the boy's heart pulse with cautious hope. As days turned into weeks, he began to feel a softening around the edges of his heart. The shelter buzzed with laughter and joy, and the supportive atmosphere cultivated a sense of belonging he had never dared to imagine. Every evening, the boy sat cross-legged on the soft carpet, the rabbit nestled close while other children shared stories and dreams. He found a voice among them, learning that while they all carried their scars, they also came together to create new memories. With Clara's guidance, the shelter transformed into a refuge for healing. Art supplies, books, and laughter filled the rooms as children engaged with one another. The boy felt the warmth enveloping him, wrapping him like a safety net, and yet beneath that warmth, doubt still lingered. One evening, the children gathered around Clara for a special story about resilience. The boy hesitated, his breath catching in his throat. He wanted to articulate his deepest wish, yet his voice faltered. "I just want to be loved and to belong," he finally said, each word heavy with longing. Clara knelt, compassion radiating from her. "You already belong here." As he listened, comfort felt like a warm blanket resting on his shoulders. Every shared story and kind word soothed him, gradually unraveling the tightness around his heart. The rabbit lay beside him, offering steadfast support, reminding him he wasn't alone in this journey of rediscovery. However, life at the shelter brought its own challenges. One day, a new child arrived, a small girl named Lily, her eyes filled with uncertainty. The boy noticed her hesitation, his own heart tugging at the familiar pain he once felt. With the rabbit by his side, he approached her. "It's okay," he whispered, extending a gentle hand. The girl hesitated but slowly reached out, her fingers brushing against the rabbit's soft fur. In that moment, the boy realized they were all in this together. They had been through their own battles, and it was time to help one another heal. Days turned to months, and the bond shared between the children grew deeper. The boy began to feel the echo of laughter emanate from within him, a newfound joy breaking through the seams of his once lonely heart. But at the same time, reminders of his past still lingered like ghosts, testing his newfound resilience. One evening, as twilight fell, Clara gathered the children outside for a campfire. The air was thick with anticipation, crackling with excitement. "Tonight we're going to share our dreams," she said. When it was the boy's turn, he took a deep breath, heart racing, and shared his dreams, the desire for a family, for stability, for love. "I want to feel like I belong somewhere, like I'm chosen," he said, tears welling in his eyes. Clara nodded, her presence grounding him. The boy felt waves of gratitude wash over him. Under the stars, with the warmth of the fire flickering before him, he allowed himself to let go of some of the pain. With each dream spoken, he felt a little more whole, a little less defined by his past. But life had its own way of testing him. One sunny afternoon, Jack returned to the shelter, a familiar warmth flooding back, igniting emotions he hadn't faced in a while. He asked, concern etched in his features. The boy hesitated, grappling with conflicting emotions. I'm okay, but I know it's different now," he said, glancing down at the rabbit nestled on his lap. Jack knelt beside him, observing the bond the boy had formed with the rabbit and the other children. "You've changed, and that's wonderful to see." Days turned into weeks, and each child at the shelter was given the opportunity to explore their options. Clara worked tirelessly to connect families who might be looking to adopt. The boy felt apprehension swelling in his chest, a combination of hope and fear he couldn't quite shake off. What if a family wanted him? Would they love him? Would they choose him? As the thought lingered, he found himself drawn deeper into a realm of possibilities, but also swept up in a tide of uncertainty. One afternoon, Clara called the children together for some exciting news. "Soon we'll hold an event for families interested in adopting, and you all will have the chance to meet them," she announced, her eyes sparkling. The boy's heart raced as the implications washed over him. He blurted out, fear punctuating every syllable. "They will see the amazing person you are," Clara reassured. With those words, the boy felt a flicker of courage ignite within him. For the first time, he saw a vision for his future, hope mingling with fear, but also the possibility of being part of a family who truly chose him. On the day of the event, the excitement buzzed through the air like electricity. Each child wore their finest clothes, nervous energy crackling around them. The boy clutched the rabbit tightly, sensing the support it offered amidst the storm of emotions. When families began to arrive, he felt a mix of trepidation and hope. He observed them closely, watching their expressions, searching for signs of kindness and acceptance. Would anyone see him? As the day unfolded, the boy engaged with a family whose warmth enveloped him like a second skin. Their laughter was infectious, and he shared stories about the rabbit he had found, weaving tales of friendship and resilience. The parents listened, their eyes reflecting a shared understanding. Hours passed in a blur of joy and heartwarming exchanges. As sunset painted the sky in hues of purple and gold, Clara gathered everyone for a closing circle. Sitting in a circle, the energy was palpable. Clara spoke softly, "Today was just the beginning. Each of you has touched hearts in a unique way." The boy felt warmth spread through him, a comforting balm that soothed the apprehension lingering in the back of his mind. He glanced around the circle, sensing that even if these families were not his future, they had already made a difference in his life. And then, just as the sun began to set, a couple approached him. Their faces radiated kindness, and their smiles were inviting. "We just wanted to say how touched we are by your story," they said, kneeling down to his level. In that moment, the boy's heart soared like never before. "Thank you," he replied, feeling the warmth of their sincerity wrap around him. As they exchanged stories, he felt an undeniable spark, an instinct that resonated deeply within him. Something told him they could become family. They were searching for someone to love, just as he was searching for a place to belong. After the event, Clara approached him with a knowing smile. She asked softly, her eyes filled with understanding. "I think they see me," he replied, his voice trembling with emotion. In that instant, the boy realized that love could transcend even the deepest scars. He had found connections that would guide him through, reminding him that family wasn't just about blood. It was about a choice, a journey, and the willingness to embrace each other's stories. Days turned into weeks, and as his bond with the couple deepened, he felt the walls he had put up begin to crumble. They brought him to parks, shared laughter-filled dinners, and introduced him to new experiences that filled his heart with joy. But the bond with the rabbit never wavered. It remained a constant source of comfort and companionship, forever linked to the boy's journey. The rabbit reminded him every day that love opens new doors, leading to paths he had never imagined. One sunny morning, after a lively breakfast, the boy sat on the porch with the couple. They shared stories about their lives, and the bond blossomed like wildflowers in spring. As the warmth of the sun kissed his cheeks, he felt a sense of belonging envelop him. He blurted out suddenly, his pulse quickening at the thought. "Of course," they replied, laughter dancing in their eyes. The boy's heart soared. He had a family, and he would never feel alone again. With the rabbit by his side, he felt invincible. They were bound by more than just fate. They were intertwined by love, resilience, and the kind of magic that comes from overcoming darkness. As the sun set on that beautiful day, the boy reveled in the understanding that life can heal even the deepest wounds. He saw hope rise on the horizon, like the sun breaking free from the night, illuminating a world filled with joy, love, and possibility. In that little house, surrounded by love and laughter, where a boy found a family and a rabbit found its forever friend, something truly profound had transpired. It was a story not just of loss, but of rebirth, transformation, and the never-ending power of connection. On a quiet, sun-drenched afternoon, a rabbit darted across a patch of wildflowers, its heart racing not with fear but curiosity. Just a few yards ahead, a small figure curled up on the side of the road caught its eye. The rabbit paused instantly, ears twitching as a sound pierced the serene atmosphere. A boy's muffled sobs resonated through the still air. Peering cautiously, the rabbit saw the boy, no older than 8, with tears streaming down his dirt-streaked face. Confusion washed over the little rabbit. How could someone so small be so utterly abandoned? It hopped closer, drawn by the boy's sorrow. The rabbit seemed to ask with its big, innocent eyes. The boy looked up, his chestnut hair tousled and messy, and for a brief moment their worlds collided. He blinked, surprised to see a living creature so close. "Are you?" he whispered. The rabbit leaned in, somewhat relieved to find that he felt a flicker of hope. "I'm all alone," the boy said, his voice trembling with emotion. "They said they would come back for me." Those words sliced through the air like a knife, stabbing deep into the rabbit's heart. The weight of the boy's sorrow was almost tangible, and despite its small size, the rabbit felt an overwhelming urge to help. It inched closer, nose twitching as it offered a gentle, comforting nuzzle against the boy's outstretched hand. The boy's gaze softened. Instead of pushing the little creature away, he found solace in its warm presence. "You're my friend now," he said, a small smile breaking through his sorrow. In that heartbeat, the rabbit became more than just a spectator. It turned into a lifeline, a flicker of connection in an otherwise bleak landscape. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the clouds with shades of orange and pink, a car's headlights suddenly glinted off the asphalt, cutting through the twilight. The boy's heart raced with a mix of hope and fear. Could this be someone coming to find him? He looked up, wiping his tear-streaked cheeks, and held his breath, the weight of uncertainty pinching at his heart. The car slowed down and stopped a few feet from the boy. A man stepped out, his brow furrowed with concern as he took in the sight of the abandoned child and the rabbit who had unexpectedly taken up residence beside him. He called out, walking cautiously toward the boy. The boy's breath hitched. "I don't know, I was left here," he stammered, his voice a fragile whisper. The man knelt down, looking directly into the boy's eyes. "My name's Jack, we're going to make sure you're okay." With trembling hands, the boy recounted how his family had left him at a park, promising they would be back soon. Hours turned into days, and when they didn't return, the boy had made his way to this quiet road alone, confused and terrified. Jack listened intently, his heart aching as he absorbed the boy's story, realizing the depth of his pain. Every cry reflected a fear far too heavy for someone so young. "You're not alone anymore," he promised gently. The boy hesitated but felt a flicker of trust ignite in the pit of his stomach, warmed by the compassion radiating from Jack. Tentatively, he reached out a hand to take Jack's, a simple act that felt monumental. The rabbit hopped along beside them, a steadfast guardian in this new adventure. As they settled into the car, the boy felt a strange but comforting sense of safety wash over him. Jack's voice was steady, assuring, as he explained that they were going to a local shelter where caring people would help him. The rabbit curled up in the boy's lap, becoming a warm bundle of fuzz that grounded him in the moment. The boy whispered, his voice small as he gazed out the window, watching the world blur past. "More than okay," Jack replied. But even as the words rolled off Jack's tongue, the boy felt the weight of doubt hang in the air. What if this was just another empty promise? The comfort of the rabbit against his legs reminded him of the weight of abandonment, a sensation he desperately tried to shake off. When they arrived at the shelter, the boy felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Bright flowers bloomed in the front garden, promising warmth and safety, but the worry tugged at him like a relentless shadow. Jack guided him through the door, and the boy was enveloped in a different kind of warmth. Clara, the shelter director, greeted them with a heartwarming smile that radiated kindness. "Welcome, we're so glad you're here," she said, observing the boy's wary expression. Her sincerity made the boy's heart pulse with cautious hope. As days turned into weeks, he began to feel a softening around the edges of his heart. The shelter buzzed with laughter and joy, and the supportive atmosphere cultivated a sense of belonging he had never dared to imagine. Every evening, the boy sat cross-legged on the soft carpet, the rabbit nestled close while other children shared stories and dreams. He found a voice among them, learning that while they all carried their scars, they also came together to create new memories. With Clara's guidance, the shelter transformed into a refuge for healing. Art supplies, books, and laughter filled the rooms as children engaged with one another. The boy felt the warmth enveloping him, wrapping him like a safety net, and yet beneath that warmth, doubt still lingered. One evening, the children gathered around Clara for a special story about resilience. The boy hesitated, his breath catching in his throat. He wanted to articulate his deepest wish, yet his voice faltered. "I just want to be loved and to belong," he finally said, each word heavy with longing. Clara nodded, her presence grounding him. "You already belong here." As he listened, comfort felt like a warm blanket resting on his shoulders. Every shared story and kind word soothed him, gradually unraveling the tightness around his heart. The rabbit lay beside him, offering steadfast support, reminding him he wasn't alone in this journey of rediscovery. However, life at the shelter brought its own challenges. One day, a new child arrived, a small girl named Lily, her eyes filled with uncertainty. The boy noticed her hesitation, his own heart tugging at the familiar pain he once felt. With the rabbit by his side, he approached her. "It's okay," he whispered, extending a gentle hand. The girl hesitated but slowly reached out, her fingers brushing against the rabbit's soft fur. In that moment, the boy realized they were all in this together. They had been through their own battles, and it was time to help one another heal. Days turned to months, and the bond shared between the children grew deeper. The boy began to feel the echo of laughter emanate from within him, a newfound joy breaking through the seams of his once lonely heart. But at the same time, reminders of his past still lingered like ghosts, testing his newfound resilience. One evening, as twilight fell, Clara gathered the children outside for a campfire. The air was thick with anticipation, crackling with excitement. "Tonight, we're going to share our dreams," she said. When it was the boy's turn, he took a deep breath, heart racing, and shared his dreams, the desire for a family, for stability, for love. "I want to feel like I belong somewhere, like I'm chosen," he said, tears welling in his eyes. Clara nodded, compassion radiating from her. The boy felt waves of gratitude wash over him. Under the stars, with the warmth of the fire flickering before him, he allowed himself to let go of some of the pain. With each dream spoken, he felt a little more whole, a little less defined by his past, but life had its own way of testing him. One sunny afternoon, Jack returned to the shelter, a familiar warmth flooding back, igniting emotions he hadn't faced in a while. He asked, concern etched in his features. The boy hesitated, grappling with conflicting emotions. I'm okay. "But I know it's different now," he said, glancing down at the rabbit nestled on his lap. Jack knelt beside him, observing the bond the boy had formed with the rabbit and the other children. "You've changed, and that's wonderful to see." Days turned into weeks, and as each child at the shelter was given the opportunity to explore their options, Clara worked tirelessly to connect families who might be looking to adopt. The boy felt apprehension swelling in his chest, a combination of hope and fear he couldn't quite shake off. What if a family wanted him? Would they love him? Would they choose him? As the thought lingered, he found himself drawn deeper into a realm of possibilities, but also swept up in a tide of uncertainty. One afternoon, Clara called the children together for some exciting news. "Soon we'll hold an event for families interested in adopting, and you all will have the chance to meet them," she announced, her eyes sparkling. The boy's heart raced as the implications washed over him. He blurted out, fear punctuating every syllable. "They will see the amazing person you are," Clara reassured. With those words, the boy felt a flicker of courage ignite within him. For the first time, he saw a vision for his future, hope mingling with fear, but also the possibility of being part of a family who truly chose him. On the day of the event, the excitement buzzed through the air like electricity. Each child wore their finest clothes, nervous energy crackling around them. The boy clutched the rabbit tightly, sensing the support it offered amidst the storm of emotions. When families began to arrive, he felt a mix of trepidation and hope. He observed them closely, watching their expressions, searching for signs of kindness and acceptance. Would anyone see him? As the day unfolded, the boy engaged with a family whose warmth enveloped him like a second skin. Their laughter was infectious, and he shared stories about the rabbit he had found, weaving tales of friendship and resilience. The parents listened, their eyes reflecting a shared understanding. Hours passed in a blur of joy and heartwarming exchanges. As sunset painted the sky in hues of purple and gold, Clara gathered everyone for a closing circle. Sitting in a circle, the energy was palpable. Clara spoke softly, "Today was just the beginning. Each of you has touched hearts in a unique way." The boy felt warmth spread through him, a comforting balm that soothed the apprehension lingering in the back of his mind. He glanced around the circle, sensing that even if these families were not his future, they had already made a difference in his life. And then, just as the sun began to set, a couple approached him. Their faces radiated kindness and their smiles were inviting. "We just wanted to say how touched we are by your story," they said, kneeling down to his level. In that moment, the boy's heart soared like never before. "Thank you," he replied, feeling the warmth of their sincerity wrap around him. As they exchanged stories, he felt an undeniable spark, an instinct that resonated deeply within him. Something told him they could become family. They were searching for someone to love, just as he was searching for a place to belong. After the event, Clara approached him with a knowing smile. She asked softly, her eyes filled with understanding. "I think they see me," he replied, his voice trembling with emotion. In that instant, the boy realized that love could transcend even the deepest scars. He had found connections that would guide him through, reminding him that family wasn't just about blood, it was about a choice, a journey, and the willingness to embrace each other's stories. Days turned into weeks, and as his bond with the couple deepened, he felt the walls he had put up begin to crumble. They brought him to parks, shared laughter-filled dinners, and introduced him to new experiences that filled his heart with joy. But the bond with the rabbit never wavered. It remained a constant source of comfort and companionship, forever linked to the boy's journey. The rabbit reminded him every day that love opens new doors, leading to paths he had never imagined. One sunny morning, after a lively breakfast, the boy sat on the porch with the couple. They shared stories about their lives, and the bond blossomed like wildflowers in spring. As the warmth of the sun kissed his cheeks, he felt a sense of belonging envelop him. He blurted out suddenly, his pulse quickening at the thought. "Of course," they replied, laughter dancing in their eyes. The boy's heart soared. He had a family, and he would never feel alone again. With the rabbit by his side, he felt invincible. They were bound by more than just fate. They were intertwined by love, resilience, and the kind of magic that comes from overcoming darkness. As the sun set on that beautiful day, the boy reveled in the understanding that life can heal even the deepest wounds. He saw hope rise on the horizon, like the sun breaking free from the night, illuminating a world filled with joy, love, and possibility. In that little house, surrounded by love and laughter, where a boy found a family and a rabbit found its forever friend, something truly profound had transpired. It was a story not just of loss, but of rebirth, transformation, and the never-ending power of connection. Together, they would embrace whatever came next, unfurling an adventure filled with love and light that would echo through time. On a sun-drenched afternoon, the world seemed peaceful, wrapped in a blanket of warmth. But then a small figure emerged at the edge of a dusty country road. A boy no older than 8 was curled up beneath a tree, his small body shaking with silent sobs. As the soft wind rustled through the leaves, it carried with it the haunting sound of sorrow. Not far away, a rabbit emerged from the underbrush. Its ears perked up, catching the resonance of the soft cries. Curious and cautious, it hopped toward the sound, drawn by an instinctive urge to investigate. The rabbit paused, peering through the tall grass as it focused on the boy. The boy's face was streaked with tears and dirt. He clutched a torn stuffed animal, holding it like a lifeline. He whispered to the wind, his voice barely audible but thick with longing. The rabbit didn't understand words, but it felt the pain radiating from the child as if it weighed a ton. Gripping the stuffed animal tighter, the boy looked around, as if hoping against hope that someone would appear. He had been left there, his parents had promised they would come back, but time had slipped away and the light was beginning to dim. Despair clung to him like an unforgiving cloak, almost suffocating in its intensity. With newfound resolve, the rabbit hopped closer. It took a chance, hoping to bring comfort. The boy finally noticed the small creature inching toward him. He asked, wiping his eyes and staring in disbelief. He reached out a shaking hand, and the rabbit, sensing the unspoken connection, stepped forward cautiously. For a moment, the boy didn't seem so alone anymore. The rabbit's soft fur brushed against his fingertips, and he smiled, a hesitant smile, but one nonetheless. "You're my friend now," he whispered. In that simple, shared moment, a flicker of warmth began to replace the cold despair that had settled in his heart. But as the sun dipped lower in the sky, a rustling in the bushes drew their attention. The boy's heart raced as headlights suddenly pierced the dusk. A car was approaching, and he was filled with a mixture of hope and dread. Would it be another person to help him, or worse, someone who would push him further into loneliness? The car slowed, and a man stepped out, looking confused. "Hey there." His voice was deep but gentle, radiating concern. The boy didn't say anything, his words caught in his throat. All he could do was clutch the rabbit tighter, seeking comfort in its fluffy presence. Approaching slowly, the man knelt down, meeting the boy's gaze. "I'm here to help." The boy hesitated, looking back at the rabbit, then finally spoke, his voice trembling. I was left here. They said they would come back." At the moment, the weight of abandonment crashed over him like a tidal wave, and he began to cry again. Tears spilled down his cheeks, each one a painful reminder of being forgotten. Jack, this unexpected stranger, felt his heart break for the boy. He could see the fear and loneliness in those tear-streaked eyes. "Listen," Jack said softly, "you're not alone anymore." Gently, he reached out a hand, offering the boy a lifeline. "Eddie," the boy replied, his voice still shaky. "Well, Eddie, let's get you out of it." With one last glance at the rabbit, Eddie took a deep breath and nodded. It was time to trust again. Climbing into the car, he felt the warmth envelop him, and for the first time in what felt like ages, a flicker of hope ignited in his heart. The rabbit curled up on his lap, and Eddie felt its warmth radiate through him, a constant reminder that he wasn't as alone as he once thought. As they drove down the winding road, Eddie saw trees blur past, their green leaves shimmering in the fading light. He began to share fragments of his life, speaking softly about his parents, his favorite games, and the love he once felt. Jack listened, nodding, absorbing every word. He was determined to understand this little boy and help him find his way back to safety. Soon they arrived at a shelter, a place that buzzed with warmth and laughter. But Eddie felt the apprehension swell within him again. What if this place was just another empty promise? "Come on, buddy," Jack encouraged, helping Eddie out of the car. As they entered the shelter, Clara, the director, greeted them with a kind smile that wrapped around Eddie like a warm cloak. "Welcome." Her eyes sparkled with genuine care, drawing Eddie in, reassuring him that he was safe. Days turned into weeks, and at first Eddie struggled to adjust. The laughter of the other kids, the warm hugs from staff felt foreign too good to be true. But with Jack's help, he began to open up, sharing stories and memories. The rabbit stayed close, its soft presence providing comfort whenever doubt threatened to creep back in. Eddie forged bonds with other children, all of them carrying their own burdens. They laughed and played in the backyard, creating new memories while clinging to the shadows of their pasts. The rabbit became a beloved companion, its antics bringing smiles and laughter to everyone. But despite the burgeoning friendships, ghosts of abandonment lingered in Eddie's heart. He often sat alone at night, the rabbit curled up beside him, reminding him that love and care were within reach, yet still so far away. One evening, Clara gathered the children around a campfire for a special night of sharing. The warmth of the flames illuminated their faces as they listened closely. "Tonight we're going to talk about our dreams," she announced, her voice comforting and soothing. When it was Eddie's turn, he felt his heart race. "I want a family," he finally admitted, his voice small. The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy yet liberating. Clara nodded, understanding, lighting her eyes. "You are already a part of this family. Love comes in many forms, Eddie." As he listened, a warmth spread through him, slowly melting away the walls he'd built to protect himself. With every shared story, he began to see a different future, one filled with connections and friendships that could help him heal. But life had its own way of testing him. One day, a new girl arrived at the shelter. Her name was Lily, and her wide eyes mirrored the uncertainty Eddie once felt. He felt a tug in his heart, a desire to help her, to show her that she wasn't alone. With the rabbit hopping alongside him, he approached her. "It's okay," he said softly. Lily looked up, her expression shifting from fear to tentative hope. Just like that, the two began to form a connection, their shared struggles knitting them into a new kind of family. Days turned into months, and the bonds grew stronger within their little community. Laughter echoed through the halls, filling the spaces that used to exist within shadows. Eddie began to feel the light of joy pulse within him once more. He was no longer defined by abandonment. He was growing, transforming into someone who mattered. But the past was still a specter that loomed at the edges of his thoughts. The fear of being abandoned again whispered in his ears. Would someone choose him? Would he ever be truly loved? Then came a day that changed everything. Clara called all the children together, announcing that they would be hosting an event for families interested in adoption. Eddie's heart raced with a mix of excitement and anxiety. This could be the moment he had been yearning for, but what if it ended in heartbreak? "Listen," Clara said, sensing the tension. "You deserve love, Eddie. You've come so far." As the event day arrived, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. Eddie smiled nervously as he slipped into a pretty blue shirt, his hands shaking. Rabbit bounced excitedly at his feet, sensing the boy's anxiety. "You can do this," Eddie whispered to the rabbit, drawing comfort from its presence. Families began to arrive, each one bringing a sense of hope. Eddie observed them closely, trying to gauge their warmth and kindness. He felt vulnerable yet hopeful. Would they see him? As families mingled, Eddie found himself sharing stories and laughter with a couple whose kindness radiated. They sat together, the warmth of their smiles making him feel welcome. He shared stories about the rabbit, describing how it had stayed with him through every moment of confusion and loneliness. With each story, he felt a connection forming, an unspoken bond that seemed to light the air between them. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in beautiful hues, Clara gathered them for a closing circle where everyone could share their thoughts. "Today was about possibilities," she said softly. Eddie felt gratitude swell in his heart. He had been seen not just as a child to be rescued, but as a person worthy of love and belonging. He glanced at the couple, a flicker of hope igniting within him. And then, just as the last rays of sunlight slipped below the horizon, the couple approached him again. "We were really touched by your story," they said, their eyes full of tenderness. In that moment, Eddie felt something shift deep within him. He asked, his voice trembling with emotion. "Absolutely," they assured him, kneeling down to his level. Eddie felt an overwhelming rush of emotions, joy exploding within him as tears filled his eyes. He nodded, feeling the warmth of possibilities surge through him. As they embraced, he felt the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. The fear of being alone began to fade away, replaced by feelings of hope and love. The rabbit, nestled beside him, felt as if it too had found a home. Days turned into weeks, and the transition into his new life was filled with joy and challenges. But as each day passed, the feeling of love wrapped around him like a warm blanket. He saw the light in his family's eyes and felt it mirrored in his own heart. In the evenings, they would gather together, sharing stories and laughter around the dinner table. The rabbit curled up cozily in Eddie's lap, a living reminder of the journey they had both endured. Eddie realized that love wasn't just something that happened in fairy tales. It was something worth fighting for, something he had found in unexpected places. With the rabbit by his side and a family that chose him, he felt invincible. And in the flickering light of a bedside lamp, the rabbit seemed to nod in agreement, a small guardian that had led him through the darkness into the warmth of love and safety. Together, they faced whatever challenges still lay ahead, hearts intertwined in a journey woven with resilience, trust, and an unbreakable bond. And every night, as they closed their eyes, they knew they were finally home. In the golden haze of late afternoon, a rabbit dashed over a sun-kissed meadow, its small heart pounding with excitement as it explored its surroundings. The air was thick with the sweet scent of blooming wildflowers, but something felt off today, like a storm brewing just beneath the surface of tranquility. The rabbit paused, ears twitching, as a sound pierced through the quiet, the muffled sobs of a child. Curiosity and instinctual pull overcame the rabbit. It hopped cautiously toward the sound, the soft earth beneath its feet giving way to the forgotten shadows of the nearby woods. As it drew closer, the sobs became louder, more desperate, wrapping around the rabbit like a dark shroud. There, at the edge of a winding country road, sat a boy no older than 8, curled into himself, trembling as he wept. His clothes were torn, dirtied, and stained, and he clutched a frayed stuffed animal, the lifeline that seemed to anchor him to a world that felt increasingly distant. Asked the rabbit silently, its wide eyes locked onto the boy's tear-streaked face. The boy looked up, blinking away his tears, and stared in disbelief at the creature before him, as if trying to process whether it was an illusion. "Are you?" The boy's voice quivered like a delicate leaf in the wind. Without thinking, he extended a small hand, and the rabbit, filled with an instinctual understanding, hopped closer. It nudged its furry head against the boy's palm, offering what little warmth it could provide. For a fleeting moment, the boy's sobs quieted. "I'm all alone," he finally whispered, his voice fading into the silence. "I thought they would come back." His confession hung in the air, laden with sorrow, and the rabbit felt a pang of empathy wash over it. The weight of abandonment pressed heavily on the boy's small frame, pulsating like a low drumbeat of loss. All around them, the world continued to bustle, yet time had halted for this moment. The boy clutched his stuffed animal tighter, staring out at the road as if willing a miracle to appear. But the rabbit remained, the soft warmth radiating from its small body, a lifeline in this ocean of despair. The boy lamented, his voice barely above a whisper. The rabbit simply nuzzled closer, an act that provided a flicker of comfort amidst the darkness. Just then, from a distance, the low rumble of an engine pierced the stillness of the late afternoon. The boy's heart raced. Could this be the moment he had been waiting for? Could someone finally come for him? He wiped his tears and lunged towards the road, a mixture of hope and trepidation knotting in his stomach. A car pulled up, its engine purring softly as it came to a stop beside the boy. The driver, a man in his 30s with a rugged exterior but kind eyes, stepped out. "Hey there," he asked, concern etching itself across his face as he approached cautiously. The boy, caught between fear and the slightest glimmer of hope, couldn't find his voice. He looked at the man, then down at the rabbit still nestled against him. "I've been left here," he finally stammered, tears welling up again. "I thought they'd come back." The man knelt down, meeting the boy's gaze directly. The boy felt something stir deep within him, a flicker of belief that maybe, just maybe, he could trust this stranger. "Come on," the man urged gently, extending his hand. The boy felt the rabbit shift beside him, like a gentle nudge urging him to take the leap. With trembling fingers, he reached out, grasping the man's hand. "I'm Seth," the boy said in a tiny voice, and in that moment, hope began to unfurl in the corners of his heart. As they climbed into the car, the boy instinctively tucked the rabbit close, feeling safe for the first time in a long while. Seth glanced back at him through the rearview mirror. "Where do you want to go, Seth? You're going to be all right." Seth's heart raced as he mulled over that word safe. What did it even mean? They drove away from the empty road, the rabbit nestled firmly on his lap, a small yet powerful beacon of comfort. The car cruised through the quiet streets, a peacefulness washing over them, but the boy's mind was still clouded with uncertainty. He could see the trees lining the streets start to fade into a blur as they drove farther away. It felt both liberating and terrifying. What awaited him at the end of this drive? After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at a large building with bright colors and cheerful decorations. "This is the shelter," Seth heard Seth say, his voice a blend of excitement and hesitation. The large wooden door swung open, revealing a flurry of activity. Children laughed and played under the watchful eyes of caring adults, creating a cacophony of joy that washed over the boy like a wave of warmth in stark contrast to his loneliness. But still, a shadow of doubt nestled in his heart. "Come on," Seth encouraged. He helped the boy step out of the car, and the rabbit hopped down from his lap, ready to explore its new surroundings. As they entered, a woman with kind eyes approached them. "Welcome, I'm Clara, the director. We're so glad you're here, Seth." Her voice danced around them, enveloping the boy like a soft hug. Yet even amidst the warm reception, Seth could feel the old fears creeping back in. Who would truly want him? What if this was another empty promise? The rabbit nudged against him gently, sensing the turmoil beneath his facade. Days turned into weeks as Seth settled into the shelter. At first, uncertainty hung over him like a thick fog. He watched other children play and connect, a part of him longing to join in, yet feeling tethered to his past. The rabbit remained by his side, the only witness to his silent struggles. Then one day in the communal area, a girl with bright blue eyes approached him. "Hi, I'm Mia." Her smile was infectious, but doubts swirled in Seth's mind. He hesitated, a whirlwind of emotions reflecting in his gaze. But the rabbit, in its own small way, seemed to spark courage in him. As if sensing the boy's fears, it hopped toward Mia, drawing her attention. She exclaimed, kneeling down to pet the small creature. In that moment, the ice began to break. Seth managed a smile as he watched the two interact. A flicker of warmth ignited in his heart, drawing him into the light of possibility. "His name is Cloud," Seth said, surprising himself with his own words. Mia grinned, her enthusiasm washing over him. With a deep breath, Seth took that leap of faith and stepped into a world he had almost given up on. As days passed, laughter, warmth, and friendship blossomed around him, and slowly he started to heal. The rabbit remained a constant companion, a symbol of resilience and the bond they shared. Yet with every new friendship forged, Seth wrestled with the shadows of abandonment that still loomed in his mind. What if they left him too? One crisp evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara gathered the children around for a special story time under the stars. The night air was thick with anticipation as they settled onto blankets, wrapping themselves in cozy layers. "Tonight, we're going to talk about dreams," Clara said warmly. Seth listened intently, his heart pounding as each child shared their hopes. Some wanted to be astronauts, others artists, and some simply wanted a family that felt complete. When it was Seth's turn, he glanced around at the trusting faces. I want a family that chooses me," he said, his voice wavering but steady. The vulnerability in his words mingled with the soft night air, tinged with the flavor of honesty. Clara knelt close, her eyes filled with understanding. "You are deserving of that love, Seth. You have shown incredible strength." As the evening wore on, a sense of warmth enveloped him. These kids were like a newfound family, each carrying their own scars yet banding together, creating a tapestry of hope and resilience. But then the winds shifted dramatically. The following week, whispers floated through the halls that would shatter the safety he had begun to build. Clara announced that a family would be visiting the shelter to meet children for potential adoption. Seth's heart sank as the implications washed over him. He caught himself wondering, the terrifying memories of abandonment clawing at him once more. Mia noticed his tense expression. "Hey, remember that you're amazing just as you are," she said. But the seed of doubt continued to grow, watering the roots of fear that had long resided deep within him. The anticipation of that day loomed like a thunderstorm on the horizon. When the day arrived, the shelter buzzed with excitement. Children prepped themselves, wearing smiles yet clenching their uncertainties. Seth felt like a storm raged inside of him. Would he even want to be adopted? What if they didn't see him? As families arrived, he observed them closely, the hopeful glances, the yearning expressions. A couple approached him, their eyes bright with kindness. "Hi, we're here to learn more about you," they said, bending down to his level. But as they asked questions, Seth felt the layers of his heart retreating further. What if they rejected him? The rabbit nudged against his leg, a quiet reminder that he wasn't completely alone, but the fear surged. I'm not sure if I want to do this," he mumbled, barely audible but tinged with the weight of profound emotions. Just as the couple tilted their heads, looking confused but understanding, a loud crash reverberated outside. The door burst open, revealing a panicked girl, breathless from running. "Theirs," she gasped, her eyes wide with terror. Seth's heart dropped as the atmosphere switched from warmth and hope to chaos and fear. He exclaimed, adrenaline racing through his veins. "Everyone outside," Clara shouted, rallying the children as panic set in. Doors swung open, echoing with urgency as children began to spill into the open air. Seth felt the heat rise, a wave of fear washing over him. In the chaos, he grabbed the rabbit, clutching it tightly as they dashed outside. The real world began to unfold before him, a reality where everything he found so precious could be lost in an instant. Outside, flames danced dangerously in the distance, devouring everything in their path. Smoke billowed into the sky, darkening the horizon. As the chaos erupted, he scanned the fleeing faces, each filled with uncertainty. He felt torn, adrenaline pumping through him. What would happen next? Would they all be okay? And in that moment, as he stood there clutching both the rabbit and the fleeting possibility of love, he realized that life could change in a heartbeat. What awaited them as they fought the flames? Would this mark the end of what he had begun to build, or a new beginning? The choice was no longer his to make as the fiery blaze loomed closer, igniting a future teetering on the edge of both fear and resilience. As sirens blared in the distance, a powerful rush of emotion surged through him, knowing that everything was about to change once again. The next chapter was ready to unfold, but the question remained, would anyone survive the flames?